Good day and welcome to our podcast. My name is Aakash Patel, president and founder of Elevate Inc. We are a strategic business consulting firm founded in 2012 with the premise of helping companies and entrepreneurs grow in and around the Tampa Bay area. We focus on strategic public relations, community relations, target networking, and social media content writing. If you have interest in learning more about our business or learning about our podcast, Elevate Inc. today, shoot us an email at info@elevate-inc.com. As always, we want to highlight team members and community leaders that are helping our city elevate Tampa. Today, I want to recognize one of our team members, Miranda Doyle. As you know, our team values are helping the Tampa Bay community, and there's no better time to give back like this holiday season. This past Thanksgiving, Miranda volunteered with Our Daily Bread and Tampa Bay Harvest to help feed local veterans in need. Over 20 veterans received a full Thanksgiving meal. This holiday season, we encourage you to reach out to see how you can help someone. Thank you, Miranda, for giving back, and thank you to all those volunteers at Tampa Bay Harvest and Our Daily Bread. Good day and welcome to Elevating Today. This is Season 1, Episode 15. My name is Aakash Patel, President and founder of Elevate Inc. And my guest today is my friend and mentor, Debbie Lundberg, of Presenting Powerfully. Debbie, how are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Of course. It's so great to see you. We're going to get into a little bit of everything that's been going on last year with you and even longer. But for the folks at home that don't know a little bit about you, talk about where you grew up, your background, and what you do today.
Well, my mom likes to say she gave birth to a Floridian in Flint, Michigan, which sounds crazy. The reality is I did grow up in Flint, Michigan, and I tell people when I speak at University of South Florida or other places, usually when I ask people about that, they don't have the best response. It's like, oh, Flint. The reality is where you're from is a starting point, and I had a great experience. And when you just enjoy what you're doing, it becomes part of who you not only are, but who you then become from that launching point. So I grew up in Michigan, and I knew I didn't want to live in Michigan, not because it's not beautiful and wonderful, because I prefer the warmth. And so the process and the travel and the experience to get to Tampa is somewhat unusual, and perhaps everybody has their own unique story. But when I was there in Michigan, you can imagine that with the auto industry being there, I can tell you that going through school, high school, all of that, sports, everything that I loved, well, when I went to undergrad at University of Michigan, there were only, I think, 5 people from my class that went away to school. And naturally, I thought, well, I want to do something different than what I've experienced with the auto industry. And so I thought about teaching, I thought about business. And I have to admit, the idea of bringing them together was what I was hoping to ultimately do. Well, it wasn't the best economy, and so I ended up sending out to almost everywhere to see about even an internship. And I got an internship at one of the General Motors facilities. And how I got the internship is a story that I'll share just briefly. I was sitting there and I knew these other people just looked really well qualified and very competitive. They were also from University of Michigan. And I thought, what's going to make me stand out? And as soon as I was asked a question, can you produce this type of spreadsheet? I said, yes, I can. I didn't lie. I knew I could. I had no idea how to do it. And I thought, but I thought, okay. And I ended up getting the position. And before I started, the night before, well, actually 2 nights before and the night before, I was studying how to do this spreadsheet. And I thought, I don't want to falsely represent myself. Showed up, met everybody. They were great. They all went to a meeting and said, we're going to be back in a couple of hours. Here's how you answer the phones. Here's what you do. And we need this information by the time we get back. And it was one of those spreadsheets.
Wow.
And thank goodness I had done that. And the reason I tell the story about how did I get where I am, I realized I was very scrappy and that I wouldn't ever misrepresent myself. Now, I said, I can do it. If they would have said, have you ever, I would have said no. But that wasn't the question. And then I knew how to do it. And it sparked in me some of the entrepreneurial experiences that I'd had as a kid. I mean, I'd set up a carnival, and when people came in and paid their money, I did all the tricks. And then I'd done a marker checkout in school. That ended sadly, though, because it ended once some slime got in someone's hair, but it was all fun, and my teacher was very supportive. And then I wrote poems, a gift of rhyme when I was older. I started a shopping service when I was an undergrad. So all of those things really came together in that experience as an intern, and I couldn't have been treated better. And so I started working in the auto industry, which was what I did not expect to do. And yet I had a lot of really good opportunities. So when women started being integrated into the field, which sounds crazy for us to be saying that wasn't that long ago, I had the opportunity to go and call on dealers. And I thought, how hard can this be? Don't they buy everything from General Motors? No, they don't have to. It's a sales and service agreement, but on the fixed operations side, it wasn't. And again, I was really fortunate that people were kind enough to let me learn and teach and guide, and through a lot of mistakes, I ended up taking the Dale Carnegie training course and met a woman who was just a wonderful Southern woman, because I got to go to very large places like Southwest Louisiana to call on dealers, where there were not always solid floors, let's put it that way. Some of them were gravel. So I met a lot of people and got involved with Carnegie, and met a woman named Barbara, and she just inspired me, because unfortunately, and the reason I'm not saying her last name is, I found out through the course of working with her that she was in a very bad situation with her daughters, and I admired that she left that situation with just her 2 daughters, clothes on her back, and that scrappiness. And she wanted to become a Dale Carnegie instructor. But the amount of money that it would take to go and do that was going to be a challenge for her. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I'd been invited, and I wasn't certain, but I said, and I'm going to stay in a hotel, and you might as well just stay with me. And she said, well, the food. I said, oh, I don't like going out a lot anyway. I'll pack a lot of food, and we'll just have like little picnics and have a party, and we'll study. And through her, seeing her experience that, and being able to share in it with her and see her success grow, I ended up becoming an instructor as well.
Wow.
And it was really challenging. I thought, this looks so fun. And there was so much strong, tough, appropriate feedback about how to improve that I just wasn't expecting. And through that experience, I was thinking I was supporting her and certainly growing myself. It ended up being a wonderful journey that I started adjunctly teaching Dale Carnegie training wherever I was. So within General Motors, I was able to move up and have a marketing experience. Yes, I can paint in a downdraft paint booth. Yes, I can change your oil in 29 minutes or less if I had to.
Wow.
So all of these strange things that came together led me to national positions. And I headed up legal and product delegation for the U.S., Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, and never gave up that side of the teaching and the coaching from Dale Carnegie training. And along that way, I met my husband, and he did not want to live in Michigan. So let's rewind. General Motors was about to consolidate everything that my team was doing to Michigan. And I thought I'd really rather spend the first year of marriage with my husband than commuting. And I thought, what will I do? And I thought strangely and magically that if I were older, if I were 40, that was this number in my head that people would listen to me if I had my own business. And to Michael, my husband's credit, he said, just do it now. I was only 33, and I didn't want to quit General Motors. So instead, one of my dear friends who introduced Michael and me and was the maid of honor in our wedding, she said, I can work with you on this, because she's an HR expert. I said, could I retire? And she said, you can. So she assisted me with the language, and I presented retiring at the age of, which would be at the age of 34. I said I would give 7 months, and I ended up doing some unusual fill-ins for people, and I really got the support, and I was able to retire instead of quit, which then I didn't lose what I'd invested and had the opportunity to really work how I wanted things to play out. And so after that, I continued teaching Dale Carnegie training in the Tampa Bay area, earned the wonderful honor of the Instructor of the Year, did some consulting, and started my practice finally about 14 years ago.
And your practice is on motivational speaking, leadership. Talk about Presenting Powerfully and the services you offer.
Thanks. So Presenting Powerfully, we offer 4 key services. So keynotes and talks, strategy and facilitation, teaming and training, and then executive presence and performance coaching.
And you obviously have been recognized for your instructor at Dale Carnegie for being a top instructor, but you also had national, international speeches. And as you know, March 13th hit.
Yes.
What went through your mind?
What went through my mind was, it's Friday the 13th. It's usually a good day. And I thought, this will be a couple of weeks and there will be a few changes and challenges. And so interestingly enough, I thought, let me do 10,000 steps a day and 10,000 steps to sunrise, thinking that's a positive way of looking at these 2 weeks. Now, I typically would work out in the morning, but that 10,000 steps took a little bit longer sometimes. So I said, oh, if things have changed, let me do that, and I'll post a positive picture and what's happened. So I really thought and believed, I think like a lot of us, that it would be short. When the first postponement came on that Saturday, I thought, well, that's disappointing, but we'll work it in the schedule. When the second came, I thought, that's disappointing, we'll figure this out. By the time the 3rd, 4th, 5th, up to the 10th came, Aakash, it was really testing my positivity and my outlook of, hey, everybody, let's not think of this as cancellations. Let's think of it as rescheduling, repurposing. And it called on that core of belief, really, to say, I live what I practice, and I practice what I live. So it's like, it's going to be okay. And it wasn't great though. I tell people, they'll say, you always say you're great. I said, no, I'll say okay if I'm okay. I'll say good if I'm good. But I don't ever say this is terrible, because I have an optimism that I know I can figure it out. And with the support of so many people, it'll happen. But I literally, in 6 months' time, and I don't mind saying this, and some people might think it's embarrassing, I had $2,000 worth of new business in 6 months.
Wow.
There's a couple zeros missing there for my practice. And yet I thought, let me just give it away free. So I reached out to organizations and companies, and I did over 50 sessions of how to work successfully remotely and charged nothing, and it gave great purpose. I got really terrific comments back from people who said it changed the way that they worked. So it was really worthwhile.
Yeah, and I think you did a couple sessions for us at Elevate Inc., and we really enjoyed it. And you also wrote a book in between the pandemic and now. Talk about that.
Yes, thanks. So with this remote work environment, I'd realized I'd been working remotely for the majority of my life. And my podcast partner, Barb, kept asking me a few questions about what was happening, and she doesn't mind that I say this. And so after a while, we were joking, because I said, I'm going to start charging you for this. And she said, you should just write a book, because this has really changed the outlook on how I'm handling things remotely. I said, you know what? I will. I've already had other books. And from delivering all those talks, I had that format, really. And it's 7 chapters about how to lead and work successfully in a virtual environment. And then I decided to start giving those away, because even though, yes, the revenue would be great, a lot of people were struggling. And so I had that opportunity to give those away. And now people have hired me to do virtual retreats, virtual engagements, and I'm having a lot of fun with it, being really creative.
So let's forget about 2020, and we'll come back to some things that happened. But in the business world, like we all said, we've all had to make an adjustment. Today is 2021. Where is Debbie Lundberg and Presenting Powerfully in 5 years from now?
So 5 years from 2021, I'm still grateful, still delivering, and what the topics will be, I don't know. I know that they'll be in the areas of communication, behaviors, and relationships, because that's my expertise. But it's really interesting to see how right now it's about change and processing through successfully and communicating in environments of difficulty or conflict. And I'm guessing that quite a few of those will remain, because they ebb and flow throughout my career. there may be new topics. I mean, we have these opportunities right now where people are saying, what do I do with a segmented market? What do I do when I've lost some clients? And how do I sell differently to really connect and engage? So it'll look very similar, and yet the topics may be quite different to stay relevant and to stay learning.
Now at Elevate Inc., we tell our clients all the time, get involved in your community, help our city is our hashtag, helping our city is our hashtag. And we always recommend organizations to serve. And we both are members of the South Tampa Chamber. You serve on the board. And in August, you went through a medical procedure of someone that you met through the South Tampa Chamber. Can you tell us that story?
Yes, happy to. And respecting that we are all in the South Tampa Chamber, the connection came from the Tampa Bay Chamber, believe it or not. No, that's okay. That's okay, because we do so much together. I spoke at the Tampa Bay Chamber almost 5 years ago, and it was about goal setting and how to position yourself, and one of the topics that I love.
This was pre-pandemic.
And pre-pandemic, yes. So the person, Deborah, she'd seen me there, and I don't typically accept people on social media who I don't really know. I usually send them to LinkedIn or to my business page for a couple of reasons, but mostly I'm not sure that they want to see all the pictures of our dogs that I post. I think I'm not sure that you really want this. But I noticed that we had other contacts in common, and I accepted that friend request. And so throughout the years, I'd seen her, I'd never sat down with her. We were certainly polite to one another. And now go back to last year, pre-pandemic, right before my birthday, so toward the end of the year, I saw a post she forwarded from her page that was called Deborah's Kidney Transplant Journey. And I didn't know she needed a kidney, nor did I ever have a desire to give someone my kidney. So sometimes people think it was something in me. It wasn't, and because I don't want to take credit for that just thought that I had. Instead, I thought, how could I assist this woman? How could I make an outreach that mattered? Could I encourage her? Could I coach her? Something that I could do, because I really am passionate about people not saying, let me know what I can do, or if I can do something, tell me. Instead, figure out what you can do and do it.
Right.
And so I decided I would reach out to her, and then I realized I didn't have her contact information other than on Facebook. And so I thought, I'm going to see her probably at our next event for the South Tampa Chamber. And sure enough, I did, but we were both volunteering to collect funds for charities, me for the Southeast Guide Dogs, and she was collecting for something else. So it wasn't really appropriate to say, hey, how's your kidney? And then I thought, I'll see her again. So I did, and we were seated at a large table for 10 to be recognized for our volunteering.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so it was really nice. I thought, this is my chance. But we were across, and finally I just thought, Debbie, come on. Make your outreach. So somebody representing a restaurant focused on healthy eating was sharing something. So I knew a little bit about her. I knew we were a little bit different too. She's a foodie. She calls it Dining with Deborah. So I said, Deborah, across the table. I wanted to be respectful, but I wanted to get her attention. I said, perhaps we could do Dining with Debs and go there. And so she said, oh, okay. And so it took a little while to connect because I typically travel, and so we ended up having that lunch in February, which led to me just checking on my blood type match, which led to probably the most thorough physical examination of me that I could have ever had, to learn a couple of things. Number one, I'm in the top 1% of health for my age group, which made me feel great about my choices. And number two, I was a match to provide a kidney for her. So I did. And
so you just called her and said, hey, I have a kidney, or do you want it? Or what happened next?
Well, because we didn't really know each other, Aakash, something that's really funny is I knew my blood type was something positive. And I said, I don't remember if it's A positive or B positive. Lo and behold, Amazon, blood type test. I was speaking in Texas after that lunch I had with her. And by the time I got home, there was this $9.99, a blood type test. Sadly, Tampa General Hospital and their transplant team will not take an Amazon test to tell you that you're a match for a kidney donation. So it starts with the blood type, it goes to urine, it goes to the most intense measurements that they have, which is wonderful, and they do a great job. So we talked about that at the end of the year might be a good time for it. And I know this sounds crazy. I just had a feeling. I just thought to myself, I don't know this woman, we're not friends. I said to my husband, it's just sad that somebody goes through that. By the time I came back from Texas and did the blood and realized we matched, I felt like this is her kidney now. Like, it's no longer mine. I'm just housing it until she gets it. And I realized it sounded nutty, but my husband said, you're not usually wrong on these things in your gut. So I just started thinking that it was the way it was going to be, and that the end of the year would be a good time to donate. And so that's what we talked about. But then, as you said, the pandemic hit, and I started thinking about it. Do I want to take myself out of my business one more time for up to 6 weeks? So I said it would be better to do it sooner. So August 6th, I went into Tampa General Hospital at 5:30 with 2 kidneys, and I rolled out of there just on August 7th, about 36 hours later, with only 1.
Wow, and you're both healthy now, and you're both active, and
yes, it seems like it. I'm definitely, I had the goal to get back to running every day and running 4 to 6 miles, and I just did it Saturday for the first time of the 6 miles. I've been building up to it, and I'm amazed by, our bodies are pretty terrific if we treat them well.
Congratulations, that's quite a story, and I think the other thing that people have known you for is your powerful, your messages on Facebook, your 1-minute videos, and then just recently you had a TED Talk. Talk about that experience.
Thanks. Well, the videos started with the pandemic. I used to do them pre-pandemic, once a week, once a month. I admitted I wasn't consistent on it. And it wasn't because I felt like I wanted more of them. I just wasn't certain that's what people were responding to. And during the pandemic, one of the disciplines I gave myself was to create the videos. And you're right, people have really responded. Well, we'd had a TED Talk scheduled for May 1st, which got postponed to October 30th, and then got moved to virtual. And Beth Sikosky, who's done an outstanding job with TEDx West Shore, and Brad Hall, who did the filming, they have been just tremendously professional and approached everything thinking about safety, and also, though, not wanting to disappoint the speakers, and gave us the choice. And I said I would do whatever would support them. I would do it virtually. I would wait if they wanted. So I went ahead and we recorded it. And it's out now. It's called Who Cares?
Awesome.
And I believe that leaders, and everyone's a leader, regardless of your title, you lead the way you think, speak, and respond to people. So leaders who care have communication, appreciation, reciprocation, and expectations. And when we do that, we can really connect with people, and we don't have the hostility. We have the respect that we can have with one another. And so I was thrilled to see it just came out, and it already has, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but almost 2,000 views. So if it touches a couple people's lives, that just warms my heart.
We'll put a link on the screen here so our viewers can watch it as well. Now, I know we've talked a little bit about you being an author. There's a lot of companies that are going through changes, as your latest book talked about, with remote work. Mm-hmm. What advice do you give to someone who's, number one, starting a business today because they have to, because the way the world is, their career has shifted because of this pandemic, as it's had so many people, but also to people that are, not just starting a business, but people that are thinking about readjusting their business?
Yeah. The advice is very similar, is follow passion and purpose and put people first. And so if you follow a passion, then, and you can find purpose with that is something other people will connect with, then get the right people around you. It's better to have only one person who's that right person than to have 10 people who aren't aligned with what you're doing. And when we think about a passion, you might think, like, I love to golf. I'm not a good enough golfer to be on the LPGA. I've noticed this over time, right? But I can volunteer. And so golf, even though it's my passion, and running, they may not be what I do for a living, but I can bring that same passion, that energy I get from it, that resolve that I have from hitting my goals there, and I can bring them to work. So we bring our whole selves to work is the other part of it is. So if you think about the passion, purpose, and people, you're one of those people. So don't think I'm going to put my work hat on now and be a certain way. You've known me for years. I'm the same way.
Right.
If we're on the golf course, if we're at a networking event, if I'm fortunate enough to get asked to speak for your company, that Go to that core. Am I passionate? Do I have purpose? And am I the right person? And am I surrounding myself with the right people? And starting a business, growing a business, changing a business, that becomes your foundation. And when you have a strong foundation, you can adjust what you do from there.
Now you can include yours, but is there a book that you recommend to entrepreneurs that are starting companies, that one book that really, really kind of changed the way you're thinking about just business principles?
Yes. I'm usually a rule follower, so forgive me if I squeak in too. The hard thing about the hard things is an outstanding book. If you have any sense of offensive words not being what you want to read or hear, if you listen to it on Audible, skip that one and go to Delivering Happiness, which is by Mr. Shea, who just passed away from Zappos. But those
Tony
two,
Hsieh's book,
Tony
yeah.
Hsieh,
Yeah.
Thank you. They're both really, really good books. They're very different.
So both books are by Tony Hsieh.
No, the first one, forgive me right now off the top of my head, I know the name and it's not coming to me, but it's the hard thing about the hard things.
Okay.
And a colleague of ours who you and I have both known for a long time, Greg Celestin,
Yeah.
recommended it, and I've since recommended it to many people. The initial start of the book may shock you. It's purposeful, though, to go back to that
Okay.
word. Yes, so those two books, but if you're, depending on what your temperament is for how you like to take in your information.
Well, I know that we're running short on time. Is there something that we didn't cover that you wanted to cover?
Well, thank you for having me. And I just say that in the community, I appreciate what you do. And for anybody who's out there thinking about it, if you're not sure how to get involved, just do it. Do something. I mean, we have an organization, Exchange-A-Rama, that we do typically quarterly that benefits women, pets, and America's vets. I get to chair for the Circle of Red for American Heart, and I'll pass that along to someone else. But none of these things did I know how to do before I did them. And yet getting to do them is part of the growth and experience that I've had. So if anybody's wondering, just ask and then show up and do it.
And we will follow you on social media. We'll put up your website. We'll put up your Facebook page and your LinkedIn pages. But you also every morning send out a daily email. How do people subscribe to that and talk about what's in that?
Oh, thanks. Yes. So Coach's Corner is the email, and it changes names sometimes. It's Workday Wake Up. Sometime between 5 and 6 in the morning, you'll receive in your email a Lundbergism and something else to consider, a quotation or a thought for the day. And anybody can sign up at DebbieLundberg.com or on my Facebook business page at Presenting Powerfully by Debbie Lundberg. So they're quick. And then there's a link to the videos that are from all the days before. And people can post it or think about it or give me feedback. And any topic someone wants me to explore, I will. And you'll be able to read it typically in 3 to 4 sentences.
And we'll give a quick shout out. You have a podcast as well.
Yes, and you were on it, so
yes,
thank you.
It was a great episode.
Thank you. So in 18 minutes or less on the Business of Life Masterclass podcast, because we couldn't come up with a shorter name, we ask what we call the TBOL Podcast 4. So we ask 4 questions. What's someone's daily routine? What's an extra that they do in the day that they believe others could do? What or who has been their biggest influence and what have they done with it? And 4th, what is something you wish people would stop doing that would positively impact them? And then Barb Zant and I, my podcast partner, we listen to the advice given and we implement it. I mean, we have consumed strange things in the morning. We have taken cold dive baths in order to get refreshed. We've slept in. We've not set alarms. And we will do what our guests suggest because we ask people, and our listeners love the inspiration that our guests like you were kind enough to share. I mean, something you said is to reach out 3 times in the morning to make contacts on social media. So I've implemented that. It stays with me. So they're great ways to listen and learn.
Well, thank you, Debbie Lundberg. Really appreciate your advice today, and we'll share all this information with our viewers. And thanks so much for what you do for your community. And Thank you for inspiring us this afternoon.
You're welcome. Thanks, Aakash.
This is Aakash Patel with Elevate Inc., and you've been watching Season 1, Episode 15 of Elevating Today. Thanks so much.